After Tony Stark starts writing his autobiography and looks back at his success, his mistakes, and the fact that he is getting older, he continues working on his Model 70 armor inside his brownstone when the arc reactor suddenly turns red and explodes, destroying the building, leaving Tony alive but hospitalized, and one of his neighbors, Marielle Marcus, dead. And even though nothing appears wrong with the reactor, Tony immediately suspects sabotage and pays for her funeral before deciding that whoever did this is going to answer for it. The aftermath does not stop there, as Tony meets with Jen Walters to handle the legal fallout from the explosion, with lawsuits coming in from across the city, including people who were not even present. And instead of fighting them, he decides to pay everything, even if it drains what he has left. Then moves into a small garage depot in Jersey City, where he repairs his Model 70 armor, changes its faceplate, and prepares to regain control. After taking flight over Midtown Manhattan, he is suddenly attacked mid-air by an armored figure who calls himself only a messenger and assumes Tony caused the explosion. And during the fight, Tony realizes the attacker is not connected to the blast, but is part of something already moving against him. As they exchange blows, and the messenger throws him into a helicopter, Tony catches it, saves the passengers, and uses it against the attacker before restraining him. When Tony opens the armor, he finds a kidnapped man inside, identified as Elliot Buoncristiano, and learns the suit is rigged with explosives, forcing him to remove the victim before it detonates, making it clear someone is setting him up to kill innocent people while making it look like his fault. And as Stark Unlimited stock begins to drop, Tony understands he is being targeted directly. As the pressure builds, Tony returns to the ruins of his brownstone and later attends an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, but leaves in a daze. Then wakes up in a bar restroom with no memory of how he got there, and as he walks outside, he stumbles through the street, is recognized by bystanders, recorded while throwing up, and collapses as his condition becomes public. Ironheart finds him through social media and brings him back to his hideout at the garage depot, where he uses his armor chest plate to regulate his heart, while BOSS deploys countermeasures. And while Tony rests, the person behind everything watches news coverage of Tony's reputation collapsing across multiple screens, with Stark Unlimited publicly distancing itself. At the same time, the living laser breaks out of Stark Unlimited headquarters, calling out for Tony. And when Tony and Ironheart respond at the Avengers mansion, they confront him as he damages Iron Man's statue. And during the fight, the living laser accuses Tony of experimenting on him, which leads Tony to believe he is being used in the same setup. And when Ironheart uses the Mandarin rings, she pulls his memories, showing that someone who looked exactly like Tony Stark captured him and took him to a Stark facility, confirming Tony is being impersonated. After returning to the hideout, Tony asks Ironheart to keep her distance publicly while he processes everything, suspects he was poisoned at the meeting, and realizes the sabotage, the attacks, and the falling stock are all connected to control of Stark Unlimited. But before he can secure his position, Zhang Wei, the one person whose shares could prevent a takeover, is found dead. At the crime scene, Tony learns that Wei's death is being ruled a suicide using repulsor technology. But remembering how Wei joined his company to ensure decisions were made to protect people, Tony refuses to accept it, and follows a lead with Rhodey, breaking into Stark Unlimited headquarters and locating a hidden project inside Lab 3B. Inside, they find a pod containing a version of Tony's armor that attacks them, and after disabling it, Tony opens the suit and finds an LMD duplicate of himself being controlled by the real enemy, who reveals that Zhang Wei's shares were transferred and sold before his death, meaning control of Stark Unlimited and all of Tony's technology is no longer his. After tracing the final clue, Tony heads straight to the New York Stock Exchange, where he arrives without his armor and sees Feilong publicly celebrating his acquisition of Stark Unlimited. And when Tony confronts him, Feilong ignores his accusations until Tony pushes the situation outside and calls his armor to him. The fight begins as Feilong strikes first with an energy blast that sends Tony crashing, but Iron Man continues and uses the environment to counter him, blasting a fire hydrant to knock him back and following with missiles before ripping a parking meter from the ground and striking him again. While Feilong absorbs energy and tries to control the pace of the fight while drawing public attention, Tony keeps the fight controlled using non-lethal attacks and disables the surrounding electronics with a wide energy pulse before grabbing Feilong and demanding he surrender. But when Feilong refuses and offers him a place at his side, Tony breaks his strike and forces him down before leaving the fight. At her law offices, Jen Walters receives cease and desists on Tony's behalf from the new management of Stark Unlimited pertaining to his Iron Man suit, and calls Tony to check on him before seeing him out of her window, flying upward in the distance. Stark reaches the edge of space and shuts off his thrusters, drifting in silence as he focuses on his heartbeat, using it to steady himself and push back the urge to drink when he cannot make it to a meeting. And he stays there, letting the earth slowly turn beneath him.